For years, Hollywood thrived on carefully crafted public images. Award shows celebrated the biggest stars, daytime television showcased smiling celebrities, and criticism rarely came from inside the industry itself. But every now and then, someone stepped onto the stage or in front of a camera and said what almost no one else was willing to say. Ricky Gervais did it with brutal comedy. Wendy Williams did it with unapologetic commentary. One mocked the entertainment industry's most powerful figures in front of millions during the Golden Globes. The other built an entire career by discussing celebrity controversies that many hosts avoided. At the time, many viewers dismissed their remarks as jokes, gossip, or attention-grabbing television. Years later, as investigations, lawsuits, and renewed public scrutiny reshaped conversations around some of Hollywood's biggest names, old interviews and viral clips began circulating again. Supporters argued these moments deserved a second look, while critics insisted many claims still lacked evidence and should not be treated as fact. So, why are people revisiting these moments now? Were Ricky Gervais and Wendy Williams simply outspoken entertainers pushing boundaries for ratings and laughs? Or did their willingness to challenge powerful figures leave behind questions that audiences are only beginning to ask? Today, we're examining the timeline, the public statements, and the events that reignited this debate, and why these conversations continue to divide opinion years later, long before his name became linked with one of the most talked about award show monologues in recent history. Ricky Gervais had already built a reputation for saying the things other celebrities avoided. Unlike many awards show hosts who focused on lighthearted jokes, Gervais leaned into satire aimed directly at the entertainment industry's biggest stars. Between 2010 and 2020, he hosted the Golden Globe Awards 5 different times, and with each appearance, his comedy became sharper. Instead of celebrating Hollywood, he often poked fun at its wealth, privilege, and carefully managed public image. Some viewers loved his willingness to challenge powerful people, while others felt he went too far. Everything reached a peak during the 2020 Golden Globe Awards. Walking onto the stage with a drink in his hand, Gervais immediately made it clear he wasn't interested in making friends. One after another, he targeted major studios, streaming companies, actors, directors, and media executives. His jokes landed differently from the usual awards show humor because they weren't simply about celebrity lifestyles. They questioned the culture surrounding Hollywood itself. The moment that generated the biggest reaction came when he referenced Jeffrey Epstein. The room, which had been laughing only moments earlier, suddenly became noticeably quieter. Cameras captured uncomfortable expressions from several celebrities, and within minutes, clips of the speech were spreading across social media. For supporters, it was proof that Gervais was willing to say what others wouldn't. Critics, however, argued that he was using controversy for entertainment and that comedy shouldn't be mistaken for evidence. Either way, the speech instantly became one of the most replayed moments in Golden Globes history. In interviews after the ceremony, Gervais explained that his goal wasn't to attack people personally. He said he wrote every joke himself and viewed his role as entertaining the millions watching at home rather than protecting the feelings of the industry's most influential figures. He described himself as an outsider, a comedian playing the traditional role of the court jester, someone whose job was to challenge those in power rather than flatter them. That philosophy defined his approach throughout his career. Whether audiences agreed with him or not, Gervais consistently argued that comedy should punch up, not down. For him, celebrities, executives, and billion-pound entertainment companies were fair game because they already occupied positions of extraordinary influence. Following the 2020 ceremony, many viewers noticed that Gervais never returned to host another Golden Globes broadcast. Some online commentators interpreted that as a consequence of his outspoken performance. However, the transcript does not provide evidence establishing why he was not invited back, and no official explanation confirming that connection is presented. What is undeniable is that the monologue refused to disappear. Years after the broadcast, millions of people were still sharing clips, debating individual jokes, and asking whether the speech had aged differently as Hollywood found itself facing increasing public scrutiny. But what transformed a controversial comedy routine into one of the internet's most revisited award show moments wasn't just the laughter or the silence, it was everything that happened afterwards. Most award show monologues disappear within a few news cycles. People laugh, argue online for a few days, and then move on. Ricky Gervais's 2020 Golden Globes opening did the exact opposite. Years later, clips from that night continue to rack up millions of views, with viewers insisting it somehow predicted what would come next. But why? Part of the answer lies in what happened after the ceremony. Over the following years, several high-profile investigations, lawsuits, and renewed scrutiny involving influential figures in entertainment kept Hollywood in the headlines. As those stories unfolded, social media users began revisiting older interviews, speeches, and television appearances, searching for moments that seemed to take on new meaning. Among the clips shared most frequently was Gervais's Golden Globes monologue. Viewers pointed to his jokes about powerful celebrities and media executives, arguing that they sounded different in hindsight than they did on the night they were delivered. Others maintained that the monologue was exactly what Gervais had always said it was, a comedy routine designed to provoke, not a statement backed by insider knowledge. The transcript also highlights the moment when Gervais referenced Jeffrey Epstein. According to the source material, the room fell noticeably quieter after the joke, and many online commentators later interpreted the audience's reaction as significant. However, those interpretations remain opinions rather than evidence of what any individual in the audience was thinking. Gervais himself has consistently offered a simpler explanation. In interviews after the ceremony, he said he wasn't trying to expose secret information or settle personal scores. He explained that he wrote his own material and believed his responsibility was to entertain the millions watching at home, not the handful of celebrities sitting in front of him. From his perspective, powerful public figures were fair targets for satire precisely because of their influence. That philosophy helps explain why the speech continues to resonate. Rather than focusing on one scandal or one individual, Gervais challenged what he viewed as Hollywood's culture of self-importance. Whether viewers agreed with his approach or considered it unnecessarily confrontational, the monologue became a symbol of a broader debate about celebrity privilege, accountability, and the role of comedy in questioning those with power. The internet amplified that debate. Every time another entertainment headline appeared, old clips resurfaced. Some viewers saw them as evidence that Gervais had been warning people all along. Others argued that audiences were reading too much into jokes after the fact. The same 60-minute awards show had effectively become a living archive, reinterpreted each time public attention shifted back to Hollywood. Whatever side people took, one thing became clear. Ricky Gervais wasn't the only television personality willing to challenge powerful names in the entertainment industry. While he used sarcasm and stand-up to make his point, another host spent decades doing it in broad daylight, 5 days a week, in front of a live daytime audience. And unlike Ricky, she wasn't telling jokes. She was asking questions that many celebrities wished would never be asked. If Ricky Gervais challenged Hollywood with comedy, Wendy Williams did it through conversation. Long before social media turned celebrity gossip into a 24-hour business, Wendy had already built a career around saying what other television hosts wouldn't. Her trademark wasn't polished interviews or carefully scripted questions. It was unpredictability. Viewers never knew who would be the next subject of her famous Hot Topic segment, and celebrities knew almost nothing was off limits. That fearless style made Wendy one of the most influential voices in daytime television. Millions tuned in not just for entertainment, but because she had a reputation for discussing rumors, industry whispers, and behind-the-scenes stories that many other hosts ignored. Supporters praised her for asking uncomfortable questions, while critics argued she often pushed boundaries too far. Either way, people watched because they knew Wendy was willing to say what others wouldn't. According to the uploaded transcript, one of the most public examples of that came when Ellen DeGeneres announced that her long-running daytime talk show was coming to an end. While many celebrities celebrated Ellen's nearly 2 decades on television, Wendy took a noticeably different approach. Instead of focusing on the show's legacy, she discussed the workplace allegations that had surfaced and suggested that a long television career could reveal, rather than define, a public figure's character. The transcript also references Wendy saying that she had appeared as a guest on Ellen's show and that she personally wasn't happy with the experience. It presents this as part of Wendy's broader view that there was a difference between Ellen's public image and what allegedly happened behind the scenes. Those comments reflected Wendy's opinion and personal experience as described in the transcript, rather than independently verified fact. Another moment highlighted in the transcript involves an exchange on the Ellen DeGeneres show that Wendy reportedly interpreted as a warning. According to the source material, Ellen made a joke on air that Wendy believed carried a more serious message beneath the humor. The transcript states that many audience members viewed it as harmless entertainment, while Wendy saw it differently. Whether that interpretation was accurate remains a matter of opinion, but the incident became one of the examples frequently cited by people discussing the relationship between the two hosts. What made Wendy different from many television personalities was her willingness to continue speaking even when the response was overwhelmingly negative. Public criticism rarely caused her to back away from controversial subjects. Instead, it often reinforced the image she had built over decades, that of a broadcaster who wasn't interested in protecting celebrity reputations if she believed a story was worth discussing. That approach won her a loyal audience, but it also created powerful critics. Every controversial segment seemed to add another influential name to the list of people unhappy with her commentary. As her profile grew, so did the belief among supporters that Wendy was willing to take professional risks that many others avoided. According to the transcript, Ellen was only one chapter in a much larger story. Wendy's most controversial discussions centered on influential figures within the music industry, particularly Sean Diddy Combs. Those broadcasts would become some of the most debated moments of her career, and years later would be revisited as public attention shifted toward allegations and legal proceedings involving prominent entertainment figures. And that is where Wendy's story takes another dramatic turn, because the people she spoke about weren't just television personalities, they were some of the most powerful names in the music business. Long before recent legal cases placed Sean Diddy Combs back in the headlines, Wendy Williams had already made him one of the entertainment figures she discussed most frequently. While many television hosts avoided commenting on influential music executives, Wendy often spoke openly about industry rumors, celebrity relationships, and stories circulating behind the scenes. According to the uploaded transcript, Wendy's willingness to address these topics wasn't new. It traces her history back to her radio career, where she developed a reputation for discussing controversial subjects that other broadcasters chose to ignore. That outspoken style earned her a loyal audience, but it also brought significant criticism from people within the music business. The transcript points to a late 1990s radio interview in which Wendy made controversial comments about sexuality within parts of the music industry. According to the source material, those remarks sparked backlash and were followed by the end of her time at Hot 97. The transcript presents this as an example of Wendy believing that discussing sensitive industry topics came with professional consequences, although it does not establish a direct causal link beyond that claim. Years later, Wendy continued addressing similar subjects during interviews, including conversations with Howard Stern that revisited those earlier controversies. In the transcript, she reflects on having witnessed events throughout her career that she believed would eventually become public. Those comments are presented as Wendy's perspective rather than independently verified evidence. Another moment highlighted in the transcript involves Diddy's appearance on The Wendy Williams Show. During the interview, Diddy mentioned meeting Wendy's son backstage. According to the transcript, Wendy's facial expression noticeably changed, and some commentators later interpreted her reaction as discomfort or concern. The transcript includes opinions suggesting she viewed the comment as unsettling, but there is no verified evidence establishing that Diddy intended it as a threat or that Wendy publicly confirmed such an interpretation. The transcript also states that Wendy frequently discussed allegations and rumors surrounding influential figures in the music industry, including claims about how young artists were treated. These discussions reflected Wendy's commentary on stories circulating within entertainment circles at the time. Many of the specific allegations referenced remain disputed, unproven, or became the subject of later legal proceedings, and they should not be treated as established fact solely because they were discussed on television. As years passed, several civil lawsuits and criminal investigations involving Sean Diddy Combs brought renewed attention to many of Wendy's old broadcasts. Online users began sharing archived clips, arguing that her commentary looked different in light of more recent events. Others cautioned that revisiting old interviews should not be confused with proof that every rumor or claim discussed years earlier was accurate. That contrast became central to Wendy's legacy. To supporters, she was a broadcaster willing to ask uncomfortable questions before others would. To critics, she often blurred the line between reporting and speculation. Regardless of where people stood, one fact remained undeniable. Decades after those interviews first aired, they were once again being watched by millions. But while the public was revisiting Wendy's old broadcasts, something unexpected was happening in her own life. The woman who had spent years questioning celebrities suddenly found herself at the center of a deeply personal and highly public legal battle, one that would generate as many questions as answers. Looking back, it's easy to understand why these moments continue to spark debate. Ricky Gervais and Wendy Williams came from completely different worlds. One was a comedian known for pushing boundaries on the biggest stages in Hollywood, while the other built a career by discussing celebrity stories that many television hosts refused to touch. Yet both earned reputations for challenging powerful figures in an industry where image has always mattered. As explored throughout this video, some of the events surrounding Hollywood's biggest names have been documented through investigations, lawsuits, and public records. At the same time, many of the claims and theories that continue to circulate online remain disputed, unverified, or based on personal opinions rather than established facts. That distinction is essential even as old interviews and award show clips gain new attention. According to the uploaded transcript, the reason these videos keep resurfacing isn't because they provide definitive answers. Instead, they capture moments when outspoken entertainers question celebrity culture, media influence, and the concentration of power inside the entertainment business. As public conversations have evolved, audiences have returned to those moments with fresh perspectives, asking whether they overlooked something or whether hindsight is simply changing how those clips are interpreted. The entertainment industry is no stranger to reinvention. Public opinion shifts, reputations change, and stories that once seemed forgotten can suddenly dominate headlines again. In that environment, archived interviews, comedy monologues, and television appearances often become part of a much larger conversation about accountability, transparency, and the responsibility of those in positions of influence. Whether you believe Ricky Gervais was simply doing his job as a comedian, or Wendy Williams was asking questions others were unwilling to ask, one thing is clear: their words continue to resonate because they invite debate rather than provide easy conclusions. As more information becomes public and more stories continue to unfold, viewers will undoubtedly keep revisiting these moments, searching for connections and forming their own opinions. The challenge, as always, is separating documented facts from speculation and allowing the evidence, not the headlines, to guide the conversation. If you found this breakdown insightful, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think these moments deserve another look, or do you believe people are reading too much into events from the past? However you see it, the discussion is far from over.